Welcome to Data Guy, the channel dedicated to helping you unlock the power of data.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our SQL Tutorial Series. In the last module, we looked at our Farmers Market Dataset. Okay, the data we'll be working with throughout this course. In this module, we're finally gonna start writing real SQL queries. We're going to look into SQL querying essentials. Okay, and in this, you'll learn how to select, filter, sort, and clean up data. Basically, the foundation of all data analysis. Okay, now let's get started. These are the basic SQL query essentials that we'll be using. So these are the clauses that we'll be writing. We'll start with select. Select is basically used to choose which columns or data you want to display from a table. For example, if you see the SQL code, it says select market name, city from farmers market. The output will have only the market name and the city column from this. But instead of the two column name, when we write an asterisk or a star, you say, uh, it will retrieve all the columns of that particular table. But when we want a specific column, we can mention it in the select statement. And next is the where clause. Where clause basically filters the rows based on a specific condition. For example, when you write where state is equal to California, the output will have the data which is only related to the state California. So where basically used for filtering the data set. Okay, and then we have the order by clause. This clause is basically used to order the result or sort the result. By default, it will sort the result in ascending, but we can also use this to sort the result in descending order. All you need to do is order by DESC. When you mention, it will sort the data in descending order. Then we have the limit. Limit restricts the number of rows returned in the result. And then we have the offset. Offset basically skips a required number of rows before showing the result. Often both limit and offset are used together. For example, you can, when you write limit 10 and offset 5, SQL the first 5 rows, then it displays the next 10 rows. That is what. Next, I'll show you the syntax. Then we'll go to our MySQL workbench and start writing these codes. And the syntax, this is a syntax that we need to follow while writing a SQL query. SQL query always starts with select statement, then from, then where, group by, having, order by, limit, and offset. Okay, and this is a order of syntax that we have to follow while writing a SQL query. You can't use offset first and then limit. When you do that, the query won't work. I'll show you live in the MySQL workbench, but for now, just understand the syntax so that when we start writing SQL queries, it will be easy for you. Okay, it always starts with select statement, then you'll have from, then you'll have where if we want to filter anything, then where is followed by group by, then having, order by, limit, and offset. Okay, now let's go to a MySQL workbench and start writing some code. Okay, so now the first query is, let's query all the details of the product table. Let's write select star from product. Okay, now we'll keep the cursor here and press the execute button. There you go. Now you have all the details from the product table. You'll get all the column names because we have used a star here. Okay, and that is the power of star. When you use star, it extracts all the columns. But at the same time, when we want a specific column, say we want to query only the product name and ID and product size from the product table, then all we need to do is we should remove the star and mention only those column names. Okay. Right. Okay. Now, instead of star, I just mentioned product name, product ID, and product size. Okay. Now let us run this query. Now, if you see, it displays only the three column names what we have mentioned in the select state. Okay. Now, let's order this. Let's sort this data as per the product name, but in ascending order. Okay. So that we can use the order by clause. What we'll do is I'll use the same query, but I'll just include the order by clause. Or by product name. See, when you write the column name, it is case sensitive. You should always write the column name as it is, no column names or table names as it is how it is mentioned in the schema. Okay, if I use, uh, if I write in, if I write in uppercase, the SQL will throw me an error. Okay, so since the table name is in lowercase, I'm using lowercase. Okay, now let's just write order by product name. Okay, now let's run this query. See, now the product name is sorted in alphabetically. Okay, now we can actually sort this in the descending order as well. Let me just add the keyword, which is DESC. When you write descend and then execute the query, you'll see that the product name is sorted in descending order, alphabetically, but in descending order, not in ascending. So by default, it will sort in ascending, but when we want in descending order, we can write this keyword as DESC for descending order. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. The third problem statement is extract the data from the customer purchase table and get only the recent 5 purchases. Okay. So first, we'll go step by step. First, I'll just query the customer purchase table. So let's write select. We'll do it star from from customer purchases. Let's run this code. Okay, now you see it has extracted all the columns of the customer purchases. So the question is, we need to get the recent 5 purchases. To get the recent 5 purchases, we need to sort the 2 columns. First, we need to sort the market date column. Then we need to sort the transaction time in descending order. Okay, so we just add the order by clause. I'll show you. Order by market date. Just write the keyword descending. If you don't write it, it will display the first date instead of last date. Then transaction time descending. Okay, now we run this. Let's see how it shows. Okay, we have got the the recent market date, which is 30th September 2020, and in the 30th September, what is the recent transaction time? It's mentioned here. Okay, now the question is, we should get only the recent 5 purchases. So we need to get only the top 5 rows from this. So how to do it? We need to use the limit clause. Just write limit 5. And now if you run the query, you'll actually get only the 5 rows. If you see here, just 5 rows written. Actually, the total number of rows from the customer purchase table is 1003 rows, but since we have used the limit clause, we got only 5 rows. That what we needed. Okay, now let's go to the next problem statement. Now the problem statement is, now we need to get only the 4th and 5th recent purchases. Okay, 4th and 5th, that means it wants the transaction which happened on 649, these two, 4th and 5th purchases. How to do that? Okay, let me just copy this query Okay, and paste it here. Okay, so previously we learned that we should use offset to skip the number of rows. Okay, and we want only the last two transactions, that is fourth and fifth transaction. Okay, so as per the syntax, limit and offset should come after the limit. Okay, so just keep in mind. Now let's go back to this equal. So what we'll do is we need only two rows, which is fourth and fifth. So just write limit 2 and offset. We need to skip first three rows. So just write offset 3, then semicolon. Now if you run the, you'll get the last two transactions, which is basically fourth and fifth recent purchases. Clear? So that's about it. So far we have learned how to write queries using select, from, order by, and limit and offset clause. Okay, but here's a question: in what order that SQL statement, SQL actually run these commands? You might think it starts from select, then from, then where, but SQL has its own execution order. Okay, and understanding it would help you write better, faster, and more accurate queries. Okay, so this is the order of execution of SQL queries. We start the SQL query with select statement, but ideally SQL first executes the from statement, then it goes to the where, then it selects the number of columns, then it goes to order by, then limit and offset. Okay, that is how it made it. I'll just go back to the MySQL workbench to explain this further. From this, when we execute this particular query, what SQL does is SQL will first execute the from, because it has to first understand from which table it has to extract the data. Then it executes the where clause. We didn't use the where clause here, but if you want to filter, for example, I want the recent purchases from the customer purchases with product ID 3. So what it does is first it will go to the customer purchases, then it will filter the data which has only from which has only the product ID 3. Then it will go to the select statement. Select statement will have the names of the columns that has to be displayed. Okay, here we use star, so hence it is displaying all the columns. Okay, so it starts from, then where, then it goes to the select statement. Okay, so it goes to the select statement, then at the end it will go to order by clause. So SQL has found which table it has to extract. If there is any filter, it will execute, then it will check what columns that it has to display. After deciding that, it will go to the order by clause, which is basically it will decide whether it has to sort the data in ascending or descending depending on the column name which is mentioned. Okay, then it will execute the limit and offset. As per this, limit comes first and then followed by offset when we're writing the query. But in the order of execution, it actually first it restricts how many number of rows to display and then where to start. Okay, so this is the order of execution. It means that even though we write select first, SQL actually executes from first. So this is the basic order of execution of SQL queries. You'll understand this better when you start practicing or start writing more SQL queries. So in the next video, we'll look into the where clause in detail and how to use operators like and, or, in, and between operators.
If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Data Guy channel.